Because he always has that slide. I am going to give him the HDMI cable so he can go ahead and plug in. And I will vamp while he's doing that. We are happy to have him. The first I heard about him was from Mr. Bill Hartzer talking about a little tool that he has called Page Optimizer Pro. Then I also heard about him. He ranked for a plano rhinoplasty keyword term with a brand new 1-month-old website, all using Lorem Ipsum. And here we go. Google's algorithm is an algorithm. Let's give it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me okay in the back? Google's algorithm is an algorithm. Some intro stuff. My name is Kyle Roof. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my wife and 4-year-old. I have a bachelor's in psychology. I also have a Juris Doctorate, and that's just a fancy way of saying I'm a lawyer. I practiced law as a trial attorney for 4 years. I did criminal defense and divorce custody support, and I decided that I would rather chew on shards of broken glass than do one more divorce. So I did what everyone does, and I moved to South Korea for 5 years. After that, I got my brother thrown in jail in India, and now I'm an SEO expert. The name of my agency is High Voltage SEO. We have an office in Phoenix, an office in Berlin, an office in Melbourne. I have about 16 employees. We have about 70 clients. I do local to national to international to e-com to just about everything in between. I'm the lead tester for SIA, the SEO Intelligence Agency. Each month I publish about 10 scientific experiments on Google's algorithm. In the last 3 years, I have overseen or published more than 300 tests, and I don't think anyone on the planet has done that. I'm also the math and code creator of Page Optimizer Pro, which is an on-page tool. You put in your page, you put in your competitors, and the tool tells you what you need to do to your content. But really, all of that is to say that I do SEO all day, every day. And I'd like to tell you a little story about a guy named Thales. So Thales was doing this thing around 600 BC. For perspective, that's about 150 years before Socrates. He's one of the 7 scribes. The 7 scribes are 7 dudes that advanced math or science or philosophy before Socrates started organizing things. He lived in a small town, and he was constantly battling the mystics. The mystics would go up into the mountains, they would divine the will of the gods, they'd come back down and then tell the townspeople, and that's how the townspeople would conduct their daily personal and business lives, and this drove Thales insane. He would get in arguments with people all the time that you don't have to listen to the mystics, you can use observation. You can do other things. And in one particular argument, a townsperson was like, Thales, if you're so smart and you don't need the gods, why aren't you the richest guy in town? And Thales was like, touche, townsperson, I should be the richest guy in town. The town was actually, at this point, they were in an economic hardship. They were completely dependent on the olive crop, and for the last 2 years, they had little to no rain. And when you have little to no rain, you have little to no olives, and then the farmers would lose money, and as a result, everyone would lose money. And one of the big reasons is because of olive presses. The olive presses were very expensive to build and operate and maintain, so there was a huge fixed cost. And when they didn't get a good olive crop, the farmers would then lose money because of this. So the beginning of the season, the mystics go up in the mountains, they come back down and they say, bad news, townspeople, gods are so angry at us, it's going to be another year of little to no rain. And Thales goes, well, hold the phone. And he goes back to his office and he pulls out his notebook, and he had been following the weather for the last 15 years. And he saw a pattern. When there was 2 years of little to no rain, the third year was a bumper crop with heavy, heavy rain. So he goes to a farmer friend of his and he says, hey, I think we're going to be okay. And the farmer's freaking out. He's like, Thales, I don't know what to do, man. Little no rain, the mystics. And Thales is like, I think we're going to be okay. And the farmer's just panicking. And Thales goes, well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy your press. And then you don't have the risk. And the farmer's like, you're an idiot. Sold. So Thales buys his press. Thales then goes to every farmer in town and buys every single olive press. So season starts, heavy rain, bumper crop, and now all of the farmers need to get their olives pressed and have to go to Thales. And what Thales does is he leases the presses back to them. Makes a fortune. He does this for the next couple of years, and then when he sees that things are going to normalize, he sells the presses back to the farmers at a huge premium. He basically becomes the world's first billionaire, and he lives the original Mediterranean yacht life. All right, so what did Thales really do? He had a simple yet unique idea. Tracking the weather, that's not the most crazy idea ever Clearly some other people were doing it, but it was somewhat unique. I mean, he was one of the few. But what he really did is he applied it in a profound way. A very simple idea applied profoundly. If you study philosophy and math and science historically, you can see that this is a pattern. Thales, he influenced Socrates, and Socrates said, I don't know what I don't know. And that's incredibly simple. But he took that idea and he said, but I can learn by asking questions. And I can teach by asking questions. And he profoundly applies that, and it becomes the Socratic method, which 2,500 years later is still being used in American law schools. Socrates influenced Plato. Plato says there's a right and a wrong even in opinion. Just because two people disagree and it's an opinion, somebody can be right. And he applies that, and it becomes schools of thought and universities. Aristotle then says you should be able to observe something and describe it. Well, of course you should. But he takes that idea, he observes a plant, he tracks it, does the whole thing, and then he can predict what happens the next year, so he knows what that plant is going to look like the next year and what kind of crop they're going to get out of it. And that's the beginning of the scientific method. Fast forward about 1,500 years and you have Descartes. And he said, you need a rational reason to believe something. You can't believe something because somebody told it to you or that you feel that it's right. You need a rational reason for that. He takes that idea and he proves his own existence. I doubt, therefore I am. And that's the beginning of modern philosophy. Fast forward a couple hundred years, you have Newton. And Newton said this rock won't move unless something happens to it, which is one of the most simple things of all time. But he takes that idea and we get gravity, the laws of motion, and calculus. A few years later, Edmund Halley said if you can observe an event, you can do math and predict when it will happen. And we do that every day. That's very simple, but he applies that, and he predicts the return of what we now call Halley's Comet. Fun fact about that, he never saw Halley's Comet. He was born too late, and then he died, and the comet came back 16 years after his death on the time that he predicted it would come. A couple hundred years later, we have Marconi, and Marconi says, if someone tells you something, you should test it. You shouldn't just take it. And he takes that idea, and he was told that radio waves only go this far. And he said, did anybody test that? And they're like, nah, there's no reason to. So he does. He becomes the father of radio. He wins a Nobel Prize in physics. He makes a ton of money. And he actually knew nothing about radio waves, other than he was committed to testing it. Fast forward another 100 years, and you're sitting in Texas here with a guy named Kyle Roof who says, Google's algorithm is an algorithm. But if Google's algorithm is an algorithm, you can beat it with math. And that's what I do. So when I do my SEO, what I do is I give the algorithm the math that it wants, and then you can beat the algorithm. But also, if it's math, we can observe it. That's Aristotle. We can test it. That's Marconi. It's rational. That's Descartes. We can make theories about it. That's Newton. We can predict what will happen. That's Halley. It doesn't have to be just opinion. That's Plato. We can learn by asking it questions. That's Socrates. We don't need the SEO listings. That's theirs. Google is one of the most powerful things of all time. Clearly, and we all have jobs because of it. I love Google. But it's really comforting to me that something that powerful that exists has been defeated by dudes that lived hundreds to thousands of years before Google ever existed. You know, that it's just thinking about it in these ways, taking very simple ideas and then profoundly applying them. So let's talk about a little competition that I was in. This was the Rank or Go Home Challenge in SEO Signals Lab. Rhinoplasty Plano was the term. It was a 30-day competition. You had to have a fresh domain. You couldn't spend more than $1,000. The site at the end of the competition won, and 27 SEO professionals entered. I was one of them. I was like, you know, Kyle, you're pretty good at this little SEO thing. Maybe we should throw our hat in the ring and see how we do. And after the end of the 30 days, I took 5th. This is me, the .co. You can see, though, that nobody was really killing it after 30 days. The best was on page 9, I was on page 10. But 2 weeks later, I jumped to number 1 in the maps and number 7 organic, which is pretty cool. People started to lose their minds, especially in the group. And then, and you can see they confirmed it, so this is me, number 7, but you can see that not everybody was jumping up. It wasn't that all the sites moved. My site moved. And I hadn't really done anything to it for about 3 weeks before the end of the competition. Then people really started to lose their minds because I took over, the maps were gone, and then I got the knowledge panel, and basically I was Rhinoplasty Plano. People were really lost at this point. You might think, okay, that's fine, you know, you did good SEO, what was so special, what really got people going was that I built the entire site in lorem ipsum. And then I copied and pasted in my exact keyword, my variations, my LSIs, into the places the right number of times of what the math dictated needed for this particular keyword. So you can see, Latin, 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 nose job. Latin, 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 patience. Latin, 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 etc. So it's the idea of figuring out the math behind it, how many times your exact keyword needs to go in very specific signal places. Very specific places on the page. How many times you need your variations of that. How many times you need your contextual terms. And then I just copy and paste them in. That's what I did.
Hell yeah.
This is the ranking timeline, so you can see it really wasn't doing much at all. And then, right after the competition, it moved up to the spot. Some people said that, well, the reason that it moved is because of traffic from the competition. But these are the stats. The average is 2 pages a session. The average session is 1:50, and my bounce rate was 66%. So that's not lighting the world on fire, when it comes to those types of metrics. This is my click-through rate. You can see that even in the number 1 spot, it kind of bounced between 1 and 2. My best CTR was 10%. So of all the traffic coming in, I wasn't crushing it in terms of clicks to the page at all. I was also told that it won't last long. This is a page that I did the exact same thing with Motorcycle Course Nova Scotia. I put it on my agency site and it's sitting at number 4 for that term. The reason I picked that term is because those guys didn't hire me. So I'm like, I'll do this and put these up. This stayed up for 1.5 years, actually, before I personally took it down, because it was on my agency site. And again, all lorem ipsum with the exact keyword, the variations, the LSI copy and pasted into the right spots, the right number of times. All right, and then this happened. So I was actually speaking this day in Las Vegas. This was November of last year, and Search Engine Journal decides to write this: Google ranked site written in Latin. Which, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. 6 hours later, my site was de-indexed. That's fair. But what was kind of not cool is that, so I went to sleep, and the next morning when I woke up, I had all these messages, and Google went in and took down about 20 of my test sites. None of these sites were connected to rhinoplasty Plano. They were just the sites that I used to run the experiments that I run. Yep, so they're all done. So what I did was I did a reconsideration request. So the first thing I did is I said, hey, this particular site, it's not going after any words that anybody else is trying to rank because they're all fake keywords on the site, and nobody's bidding on these terms. It can't be spam. It's not taking up any space. And they didn't like that argument. I then actually took the whole thing down, so it was just the 2012 template, and resubmitted, and they denied it again. Then I put up just one page and said, this is my own content, this is unique and fresh, and nobody else has written this content. And they did, and I applied again, and they still shot it down. So it was clearly punitive. This wasn't something that was caught by some algorithm and then, okay, you're fine. This was them personally going after me, which really I felt great about. One, like some idiot in Mountain View had to deal with me for 2 days. I kind of enjoyed it, but also if I was talking nonsense, I think they would have just rolled their eyes and moved on. They would have just let it go, because then that's nonsense. But they really decided to go. So if it's cool, I'll show you how I did that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
And I'll show you how I think that you can apply that to just about any keyword, because the principles are the same. All right, the simple truth of SEO. The simple truth is that the secret is hiding in plain sight. Google is showing you the sites that it likes. When you do a search for your particular keyword, Google has shown you these are the ones I like the best, and it really likes them for one of 3 reasons. They're on page, they're off page, a combination of the 2. That's really it. I guess there's a 4th, and if your name is Yelp, that would be maybe a 4th thing. But other than that, for regular websites, it's this. It's one of those 3 things. So if the secret is hiding in plain sight, picking competitors is the key. If we can just pick those competitors, they're getting points whether on page, whether off page, or a combination, that will give us a roadmap to rank for any keyword that we want. Because remember, the algorithm is an algorithm. It's just math. So if we look at the math that it likes, we can give that math right back to it. The first thing you want to do is you want to survey the SERPs. What type of sites are ranking for this particular term? It amazes me how many people don't look at their competitors. They'll put their keywords into one of the tools, Moz, Ahrefs, Majestic, MyTool, but they never actually look and see what is out there. What types of pages? Are these home pages? Are these internal pages? Are they mostly directories? Is it a long form article? What do you need to provide Google? What is it looking for? What is on those pages specifically? In the structure, what are they doing? After you survey that, you want to choose your competitors, the ones you're going to use to make your roadmap. I think of it at the point of view of eliminating sites. Some sites aren't going to be because they're on or off page. That's your Yelps, maybe YouTube or Facebook or those types of sites. So I don't consider those. I don't put those into my list of sites that I'm going to use. I really look for a one-to-one comparison. What is my site? What can I put out there? And then I'm looking for those sites that look like mine that I can make a real honest comparison with. So for example, if you're a long-form article, you probably don't want to get your math from product pages or vice versa. For on-page, I'll remove thin pages. So, and this is more of an eyeball test. You can see like, okay, this page, it is like mine, but it's only got 50 words on it. It's on page 1, there's probably something else going on. I won't really use that one. Most directories and those kind of things are probably excluded, unless you're a directory site, but most of us aren't. Again, looking for that one-to-one. So you'll create your list of competitors. Around 7 is a good number, I've found. 7 to 10 is fine. When you get a little bit less than that, it starts to skew the math a bit, because you get very focused in on just a couple sites. So I like to look at a little bit larger set. If you're not ranking it, I would just take 10. I get asked all the time, should I only go with sites that are ranking above me? No. Like if you're in the 4 spot, there are probably sites below you that are doing on-page better than you. There's a good chance. And you'd want to put those into the mix. Keep in mind, you'll probably have 2 lists. You're going to have, hey, I like these guys for my on-page. I like these guys for my off-page. And I would keep those lists. And you should have that written down somewhere. If you're doing client-side SEO or even doing your own sites, you should know who your competitors are. You should have a list that you can go back to, especially then if there's a change in the algorithm and they shift. You want to see who dropped. You want to see who moved into those spots, because then you want to rerun your numbers. And that's actually how you can beat any update. Google updates don't scare me at all, because I know what happened. I've got my list of competitors. I've already got the math done. I've already run it. And then I just see who the new guys are. And then you can rerun the numbers and you can see where the significant changes were in any algorithm update. One pro tip, sometimes, like in this niche, if you're doing like divorce attorney Phoenix, and I'm sorry, that's not the clearest, if you put your keyword in quotes, that's going to eliminate your avos and your justias and fine laws and those directories, and you're actually going to get real sites that are probably going to be good to do for your local SEO math. Keep in mind, there are probably only 1 or 2 spots on page 1 that you can get in these situations, but these are the guys you probably want to use for your math, and then you basically try to snipe 1 or 2 spots from other sites like yours, other real lawyers. All right, so for on-page, there are 4 parts to on-page. The structure of your page, that's maybe not necessarily a positive ranking factor, but it's often overlooked, and it's something that you should really, I think, focus in on first, is what should be on this page? How many images? Do we need a video, tables, or lists? The placement and frequency of your exact match keyword in specific signal areas. These are like your H1s, your H2s, your H3s, embodied content, a meta title, anchor text on the page, those types of things. Specifically placing them in those areas and a specific number of times. Then it's the placement and frequency of your variations in your contextual terms, and it doesn't really matter if you like to use the word LSI, or you like NLP, or you like TF-IDF. They all actually end up in the same spot. I've done a lot of research on that, and basically they all kind of come at it from a slightly different angle, but they end up with about the same 80%, regardless of which tool you're using. Again, those are also a ranking factor, and you want to, again, you're doing the math on it, how many times you're putting those terms in very specific areas. The last thing is word count. That's actually how I started with rhinoplasty plano. I knew I needed, I think, 1,500 words or so, and I just went and got a warm Ipsum generator, got that, put it on the page, and then I started working from there. Basically, it comes down to all those things just by counting. Once you know that those are the things that you're focusing in on, once you've got that, it's really just counting and inserting. So this is a shot of rhinoplasty plano. Again, looking like, should I get lists on this page? That may or may not be a ranking factor, but what I've found is that if you outline your page according to structure, you end up writing a very good page. Usually where you write terrible pages and where like people talk about SEO copy versus like good copy, it's because they sat down and didn't outline and just started writing. And that's garbage. And you know that from school. You know, when you're in 6th grade and your teacher said you're supposed to outline, you're like, I don't need that. And you start writing, you wrote a terrible essay. But if you took the time to outline, you're gonna write a much better one. And it's the same in SEO, it's the same with websites. But I like to outline according to page structure. So what I'll do is I'll literally, so let's say I need about 5 H2s, I'll put that on a document and then I'll start building out from there. I'll put a placeholder for images because I know I need maybe 3 or 4. That's going to give Google the page that it's expecting to see, but it's also going to give your visitors the page they're expecting to see too. These people have probably done these searches before. They're looking for a particular type of page. You want to give them something that's comfortable, but it also then works well for the algorithm and for writing just a good on page. A pro tip: get your H tags from the related searches. These guys right here. If you properly optimize for the top level phrase, you'll win those. And the most important ones, if they're H2s, you'll win them as well. So other pro tips: keep semantic order. H1, H2, H3, H4. Don't jumble it. Think of it as a Roman numeral outline. So your Roman numeral 1, that's your H1. Your A's and B's, those are your H2s. Your 1s, those are your H3s. Keep that type of order and that type of structure. Google doesn't care about unique images. If you really want to rank in a hurry, do the commercial-free search in advanced image search and grab the pictures that Google already knows what those are, what they mean. Google's already figured out that image is that keyword. Throw those on your page. Having way more H tags than your competitors can harm your rank. Let's say you've got 40 H2s because your designer sucks, and your average competitor only has 3 or 4. You're probably harming yourself. Give Google the page it's expected to see. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't outthink it. You can see what's there, what Google likes. Give Google the page. And we're looking at your exact keyword placement. As I mentioned, so this is for rhinoplasty plano. These are the number of times. Most people don't realize you don't need to use your exact keyword as many times as you think. We're not talking about stuffing here. We're not talking about jamming it in. So you can see in the paragraph text, 2 times. 1 time in the H1, 1 time in the meta title, 1 time in anchor text. That's it. That's not a lot of times of saying that particular phrase. Where you then get kind of away from it, if you're doing good math, are your variations of that. So the word plano on itself, the word rhinoplasty on itself, a very close synonym. Those are then how you're optimizing for those so you're not stuffing in your exact keyword that many times. But the math will never tell you to stuff, because there is no stuffing once you know what the standard is, because the standard will change keyword to keyword, so this will change each time. There is no stuffing beyond that if you know what the math range is. If you weren't familiar, these are the top places you can put a keyword. These are grouped by structure, or by strength, excuse me. So these are the strongest signals: your meta title, your H1, your body, content, and the URL. The next are your H tags and your anchor text, and that's text on the page. That's clickable text on the page. After that, you've got your bold, italic, and image alt. And then these guys are grouped because they're not visible. So schema, open graph, and HTML tags are there. This is really, when you're looking at a rough, dirty approach to SEO, if you're putting your keyword into there, if you decide I don't want to do the math, if you get your keyword, your exact keyword into these, and then you get all your variations into those in your contextual terms, you'll probably rank about 80% of what you want to do. All right, and then it's variations in LSI. This is where often, as I work with people on their SEO, this isn't uncommon. You know, you think about your exact keyword, but then you forget about the variations you need to do. You forget about your contextual terms that are going to explain what this thing is about. Most people are often deficient here, and they'll often have a lot of work that they need to do. What are the variations? This was discovered by Ted Kubitis. I don't know if you know who he is. He is the inventor of Coro, which is one of the most powerful pieces of software of all time. It's truly amazing. Your eyes will glaze over, though, when you look at the spreadsheet. I mean, it is not for the faint of heart, but it's amazingly powerful. But he found this. These terms right here, Google bolds in the SERPs, because Google wants to tell the visitor, hey, look how great these results are. Look how relevant. Look what a great job that we're doing. It turns out these are a ranking factor. So you want to use these terms. So this is often when the phrase, you're separating them out. Rhinoplasty on its own, plano on its own, nose job, which is a very close synonym. Google has made the association, these variations are critical to your term. Now keep in mind, these are often things you don't want to rank for. I mean, we're not trying to rank for plano on its own. We're not trying to rank for rhinoplasty on its own, but you need to get these on the page because they are a ranking factor for your target phrase. For rhinoplasty plano, I used Coro for LSI. It's a great little tool for this because it actually gives you a correlation to rank. So you can pull out the terms that actually appear to move rank the most, and those just with the contextual terms. And then from there, I'm filling out the outline. For Rhinoplasty Plano, it's super easy because, again, I'm just using more MIPSum, but when you're really writing, this is the kind of thing you could give to your content writer. You're the SEO, so do this structure and then hand it to them and say, okay, I need you to fill out this structure, and you're going to get a page then, because they're a writer and they're probably good at what they're doing, you're going to get a well-written page, but you're also going to get those SEO elements that you need. This was the word count, so again, for this experiment, I just grabbed that, and you can see as things happen, you get a couple extra. But when I did it, I was literally just copying and pasting in to keep my word count at that range that I wanted. So when I copied in like an exact keyword phrase, I would just eliminate 2 Latin words. And this is what it looked like. You publish the page. One thing I found too is people often get stuck with trying to write the perfect page. Get the page published because you can't rank something that doesn't exist. Get the page out there, get it crawled, get it going, and you can tweak from there, because then the idea is to keep working until you get it right. You know, use some benchmark or some metric so you can say like, okay, I'm not really at the roadmap, now I am. That's what you want to do. And this is what I did for Rhinoplasty. All right, the silo. There are 3 types of keywords. You've got your primary keywords, Rhinoplasty Plano. You've got your secondary keywords, and your supporting keywords. The important thing to understand is where do these things go on the site? How do you get them in? And that's where a silo is going to help you out. Most websites look like this. You've got your home page, you've got your target page, which is a parent, and then a child page. So this is a physical silo, and then there's often a blog that's sitting over there, and you're really hoping and just crossing your fingers that Google's going to make an association. This really great content is supporting that. This is what you really want. This is a virtual silo. The idea is that, so this is our target page, Rhinoplasty Plano. Secondary keywords that we like, that we got from those related searches, they're also going to go on this page. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my supporting keywords. These are often long tail, they're informational. They're going to go into supporting articles for me. And then the idea is that this is actually where I get my link building done. If you ask somebody to link to a page where you're selling something, a product or a service, they're going to tell you to pound sand. I mean, why would they link to some place where you're actually selling something? But if you have something that's great content, that's going to help their audience, they'll link to that, even though you might be one away from it. But if you've properly built up this silo, any juice that you come in juices the whole silo and then also your target page. They become little engines of link juice, and you can even repurpose content that you have right now. You can repurpose that, and you can probably get a ranking boost from it. And one of my most famous things, a client site, they were in very competitive niche. The kind of niche where it only has like 10 searches, but if we can grab one of those searches, we're going to do really well. They had 3 years of blog content, and then we just reformed it into siloing. So, and this is a physical silo, so we're just doing links within the body content. It's not the URL structure, but we moved them from not ranking to page 1, and their DA was 1, their TF was 1, whatever metric you like. They were at the bottom, but it was all driven through the internal link that they had, and the juice they were getting to was really great articles. All right, so your target page. So this is, and this is a New Zealand ski packages example. That's the term that I want to win. So that's going on my target page. That's I'm optimizing for that. Then I've got my secondary, so like family ski packages, best places to ski, Queenstown ski packages. That's going onto my target page. Often, if it's really important, I want to write it on the page. You know, if it's something that's desperately important, I'm going to write that on. Again, with the secondary keywords like, so Rhinoplasty Plano cost, that's where you want to get those from. That's usually a good place to get it. Then your supporting keywords, and they're going on here to those. And this URL structure, or the link structure is specific. 1 links to 2, 2 links to 1 and 3, they all link to the target page. They don't link to another target page. So I'm choosing these very specifically to support this page, and they're not going to link anywhere else. You can in the menu and in the footer, that's fine. I'm talking about within the body. I've got 1 link going to that target page. I also don't daisy chain them, so that it only links this way. And then putting it all together. The last part then is the outreach. You know, you've got an infographic. That's going to the silo. You've got a video series that you just did. That's going to the silo. You know, those types of content that you're producing that's forward-facing, be very specific with that content and choose it for a specific target page. And if you do that, you're going to create good content. You know, you're going to get good stuff out there. It's going to be things that you want to share, and you don't have to stress about getting links to this page because these guys are doing all the heavy lifting. I remember optimizing for primary keyword, you win the secondaries. There was actually a follow-up competition that I did not participate in, and the next phrase was rhinoplasty costs in Plano, Texas. And I was on page 2 for it. That term doesn't exist on this page at all. You know, those words are around it, but the idea is that I properly optimized for the primary, and I'm winning the secondary, and I bet if I put it as an H2, it would have jumped up. But notice, that's the first related search. Google's made that association, and so my page, which does not have it on it, but is properly optimized for the primary, I'm winning that secondary. That's how when you look at Search Console and you see a page that's ranking for 50, 100, 1,000 keywords that don't maybe even exist on that page. That's how you properly optimize for that primary. You win all its secondaries. So, pro tip: when you're doing your keyword research, you want to make sure that you're looking at those related searches because those are the ones you're going to win. And sometimes Google takes a left turn. You look at your primary, and it's not exactly that. Those related searches aren't exactly you. So you might get traffic, but it's not the traffic you want. It's not the traffic that's going to convert. All right, entity. This was a big thing. This is a big thing now. People are really into this. We kind of backdoored our way into it just from what we were doing in our agency and what I applied to rhinoplasty Plano. So I did a GMB. So there's a co-working space in Plano. And that's where I got that address from, on 5038 Granite Parkway. That ring any bells for you? I almost drove there today. That's really close just to kind of take a picture. The main points to GMB, get a local address and verify it. You want a unique phone number. That's actually critical. Fill in all the primary and secondary categories, fill in all the details. I did actually get some reviews. I made some reviews, and Google removed them. And I thought I was screwed, actually, when I saw that happen, but it didn't matter at all. It's kind of funny, actually. People ask me, I'm a national site, should I also get a GMB? Yes, you should. And then I got a Google Plus. And you might be thinking, Kyle, we all know that Google Plus is dead. No, it's not. It died for personal use, but it's still alive for business use. You just need a G Suite account. You should do this. So get a G Suite account, and then get your Google Plus, and then the idea is that you get the address and put that in your Rail publisher. You also want to use that same Gmail and sync with a verified YouTube account. This is G Suite for my tool that I did. I took this shot just a few weeks ago, and you click the profile and you get the URL you want to use. There's Google Plus alive and well. This is syncing in YouTube. You need to do the legacy view because I can't find it on their normal view, but get the legacy view, click advanced, and then associated website. So you're verifying with that Gmail in this YouTube account, the website. So, and this is what it looks like once you've done that. You've got this connected account. In case you're missing this, I downloaded this schematic from the dark web. You got your GMB postcard that's verified. So they send something to your address and they know you're real there. You've verified your domain in YouTube. Using G+, that gives you an ID, and then that syncs to your site. People that have been hit by Medic, those types of things, no one that I know that has done all this was hit. You're telling Google, I'm real. You're telling Google multiple ways. And now, because you have to pay for G Suite, I think it's $12 for business, you're giving them a little bit of money. They're going to take time to say, like, these are things that real sites do. Real sites do these things. It gives them the idea that they know who you are, and you're less likely, I think, to be tagged by future Medic or EAT or whatever you like to call it. I did schema, I did local business and product, and the reason that I chose that is that that's what my competitors were doing. I also got a Yelp, and somebody reported it, which was also pretty funny. Also what was great too is one day, so I got my phone number, my computer starts ringing, and I was, hello, and it's like, hey, this is Christy from Yelp. And I was like, hey Christy, what's going on? And she goes, so I'm looking at your website, are you guys targeting a foreign language? And I was like, yes, this is a rhinoplasty surgery center for foreigners. She said, okay, good, because we get spam all the time, and I needed to call and make sure that this was real. And then she goes, and I was like, absolutely. I was like, we're just getting started. And she goes, well, great. I would love to set up a time with you maybe next week to go over some advertising. I was like, I would love that. We'll just need to set that up. For rhinoplasty Plano, I also did citations, but just 2 rounds. I think a round of 20 and a round of 20. And then I did Web 2.0s. I do branded Web 2.0s, and I use them as my own citations. So I'm not blogging on these things, I'm just putting my business information as I would on a citation, linking back to the target page that I'm most concerned about. And these are the top 10 right now, Web 2.0s that I'm using. Oh, by the way, gnome.com is a good tool. If you go to Gnome, you put in your brand name and it'll spit out like all the available properties. They have a service, but you can also get your VA to do it, or you can do it, it's not too tricky. But that's the list that I go to first, and then after that I'll go to Gnome and pick out maybe some appropriate ones. All right, so off page. Hopefully the main message you're getting here is that the secret is hiding in plain sight. So with off page, it's the same as the on page. You know, you want to pick your competitors, that's the key. Google's algorithm, we can use those sites as a roadmap for our off page. So what I do is I grab all my competitor sites and I'm going to look at what they've got. What are they doing? I like to focus in on referring domains. How many domains do I have to look at? And I'm looking at specifically on the page that I want to rank. So I'm not looking at their domains for their whole site. I'm looking at how many referring domains that are going into that page that I'm trying to beat. I will look at the backlinks and make sure they're not getting maybe .edus or government, that sort of thing. Are these follow or no follow, kind of generally what kind of link building they're doing. And then I love topical trust flow from Majestic. It gives nice little pictures to what types of links these are. Are they contextually relevant? And that's often how I make some decisions on where I'm going to go after for links. And that can also then drive your content plan too. You know, depending on what types of links you're going to be outreaching for, you can then look for what category these are in, and then make content for that. For the Rhino thing, and I don't recommend doing this, I did drive some drip feed links through to my Web 2.0s to get them indexed. But that's kind of, it's a poor man's GSA, or lazy man's GSA, like $25, you take 25,000 links. So I don't recommend you doing that to your sites. If you want something, not a bad tool is SEO Autopilot for that kind of link building, or building those Web 2.0s that you're going to use for citations. All right, unique traffic sources. Can I tell you guys one more story? If you study speechcraft, you're only supposed to do one story and one talk. I've got another story I'd like to tell if that's all right. All right, the space race, USA versus USSR. We all know this. 60s, we're racing to put a man in space and then a man on the moon. And this was an exciting time because nobody had been to space and nobody had been to the moon. So each time there was a problem, it required new technology. And one particular problem is that a pen won't work in space. The original missions weren't pressurized in the capsule, and obviously there's no gravity in space, and pens need that. They need air pressure and they need gravity to work. So NASA goes out and gets the best and the brightest. They spend millions of dollars, it takes a lot of years, and in 1967, a guy named Fisher figured it out. He invented the space pen. What's pretty cool is they also thought, like, hey, we don't just need it there. They tried to envision any scenario where they'd have to use a pen. So this pen, it writes through grease, it writes upside down, it writes in extreme temperatures, it even writes underwater. Amazing. Good job. What did the Russians do? They used a pencil. See, it wasn't that you needed a pen to write in space, it was that you need to write in space. So they solved the problem, but they solved it in a way that was space pen, when really they already had the pencil. If you take this to your SEO, you may think like, I want more traffic from my site, right? And so what do we need to do? We need a link building campaign, we're gonna do these guest post outreaches, and we're gonna do this latest and greatest thing here. And you got this whole thing. That's a space pen. It's sexy, it works, but there's a good chance that right now you're holding the pencil already. So I'd like to talk about some unique traffic sources that you probably can tap into right now to get more traffic to your sites. Oh, by the way, so it's not sexy, but high voltage. That's a clever play because that's the name of my agency. So SEO is dry and boring until you start talking about butt enhancement cream. And this is true. A site contacted me, and they're in this space. And I have no idea what this is. I believe like you rub cream on yourself and you get a Kim Kardashian butt is my guess. But they were crushing this niche for years. They were 1 and 2 for all their terms, and then all of a sudden things started to tank. And by the time they called me, I think they were on page 6, 7, 8 somewhere. And what I said is like, well, what type of page do you have? They're like, well, it's our product page. Or so I was like, well, what kind of pages does Google want? What's Google ranking? And it's these best ofs, 5 best, 4 best, the 10 best. How do I do this? And I was like, what I think you need to do is you need to change your product page to a roundup page. You give Google the page that it wants. and I never heard from them again. They wanted the space pen, and I was like, I think you can just take this and it's a pencil, and anything that's going to work. So SEO is dry and boring, and especially when you're talking about LED lights, which is another client of, this is a client of mine, and they had a similar issue. It's LED troughers, which are kind of like those kind of things, the thing that holds the light. It's even more boring than the light. But they've got a page that was on page 8 for this, and they really couldn't figure it out. And I was like, well, what kind of pages are we going up against? These pages are explainer pages. You know, what the benefits of, why should I have them, things to consider type pages. And I was like, well, let's just switch up your category page to look like this. And they did. So they met in 1 week from page 8 to page 2, which is a pretty significant jump. And it didn't take a lot of work because the page was already existed. They already had the content through different mediums. It's a matter of just kind of giving Google the page that it wants and adding in a little content here and there. You know, a couple hours worth of work to move from page 8 to page 2 is not bad. That gets you in the game. That's going to get you clicks. And it's the kind of thing that is so easy to implement. You can walk out of here right now and do it. For Rhinoplasty Plano, I did the same kind of evaluation. I realized that Google wants an internal page. All my competitors went after their homepage. I was saying like Google doesn't want to rank a homepage, it wants an internal page, and also Google wants schema. And so that's what I did. Here was, I did an internal page and I got schema. I also, for Rhinoplasty Plano, I went to Quora, the software, for more insights. And what I found there is that on page was the key for this keyword, the schema, and not using a .com. Just for this particular keyword, and that's why I went with the .co. So give Google what it wants. So that's not a sexy tactic. You know, you don't go to the client and be like, hey, I've got a new idea, we're going to give Google the page it wants. But it can have massive impact. So moving that page from page 8 to page 2, in this case, it actually resulted in a $20,000 sale. So this type of company, they sell to hospitals, large organizations, jails, that type of thing, and turn into a massive sale. You know the joke, where's the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of Google? No, it's funny. It's not true. You know, there's a lot of traffic on page 2, and you could ignore it, because you'd be like, well, if I do that and I go from page 8 to page 2, what did I get? You're getting clicks, and you're potentially missing out on sales for a very simple strategy. Next, find underperforming keywords. So I've got a client, they deliver live lobsters. I've often wanted to send one to my mother, just so that like it shows up with a lobster at her door. But then it seems kind of cool to a lobster. So we're looking for underperforming keywords. And what I mean by that is keywords that aren't getting the clicks they should by the rank position. So what you need to do is, if you go into Search Console, you can download all the keywords that you rank for, remove all your branded terms. Now those are your keywords, and Search Console will tell you where you rank. So for this particular thing, these are all the keywords that they're ranking number 1, 1.0, 1.0, etc., all the way down to 2. You average that up, and then you get an expected click-through rate for when you're sitting in the number 1 spot. What should your CTR be? If you're reading a white paper, they'll tell you wild numbers. It's untrue, because it's not specific to you, your niche, and what you're doing. So I take that down to 20, and I get an expected CTR. Also then go into Ahrefs, and I'll grab 5 competitors and do the same kind of process. You can actually do the volume to estimated clicks, and you can kind of see if you're in the right ballpark with your numbers, because you might be off, you might be killing it. You won't know until you see it. And I found that these numbers are pretty accurate from Ahrefs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find underperforming keywords. So a keyword that, like lobster delivery here, it's in position 10. I'm only getting 1.51, but in position 10 I should be getting 2.4, 2.5. That's a percentage point that I'm leaving on the table. This is the kind of thing, this takes less than an hour to do. You can find these underperforming keywords, and then small improvements, meta title. You know, getting something in there, getting it in the H1. So in this case, we did 2 hours of work, and we actually moved up for a lobster delivery to 2.8%. It's the kind of thing, imagine if you did that for 3 to 5 keywords for your clients each month. And each of their money keywords, which turns into ROI, all got a 1% boost. You're talking large amounts of traffic for very little work. Huge ROI for nothing. You know, keywords you're already ranking for, you don't have to do anything special. You're already ranking for that. You're just not getting the clicks that you should get. One thing to keep in mind is that I've only been able to do like up to 3% gain. Sometimes you'll find a keyword and you're leaving 8% on the table, and you're like, oh my God, you get so much out of this. I've never seen that happen. 1 to 3% is a reasonable thing. That way, if you go out and you tell your client we're going to do this, I set that expectation. But again, think about this. It's so easy to do, and you can do 3 to 5 and get real impact with just a little bit of work. Finding lost keywords. If you look at Search Console, there's a whole bunch of crappy keywords at the end. There's a bunch. And most of them you don't like. But some you do. Some you really do like. And they're just missing a home. You know, often they're attached to the wrong page, or they're jumping in and out of the SERPs. And you just need to find a home. So what we did in this situation is we found the crappy keywords, the ones whether we liked them. Then we went to pages on our site that weren't performing well. So these are category pages that aren't doing great anyway. And then all we're doing is tweaking the meta titles and meta descriptions and H1s with those keywords that we want, putting them on the page that we would like to associate with. This is from February, and we got, so this is the number of search queries that the page is ranking for. So the pages are actually now growing. They're now a 54% increase in the amount of keywords that those pages are ranking for, an 11% increase in clicks, and a 42% increase in impressions. And then we can redo the cycle and look for the ones that now have better rank, but don't have the CTR that we're expecting, and you just kind of cycle them back in and then work on your meta title and your meta description to get a better click. This was only 10, because that's all I could get into Data Studio, but this was a wild success. It took a couple months to get there, but again, this was 3 hours worth of work, and just kind of matching stuff up and then putting it in, and the gains are tremendous. What was interesting too is that it actually benefited the main keyword. In all but 3 spots, the main keyword itself went up, sometimes from not ranking like this one to number 5. So this is something that's very valuable. Google already likes your site for these keywords. If you just give them a home, it can increase those pages. And if you do it to crappy pages that aren't really doing well anyway, you're going to see major benefit. So finding those lost keywords, just a few hours of work. All right, this last one is my favorite. We have a client that's not a bank, but they're going up against banks. So we have to deal with bank terms, we have to deal with Wells Fargo and their team. And we thought about, like, how can we get creative about this? And we realized that we could optimize for fees and complaints and their hours, things that they're not really proud of, mostly, but people are searching. And the thing that's great too is, like, somebody sees a fee and they're like, what the hell is that? And then they do the search, you know, we show up. So this is for Chase banking fees in 1 month, 3,000 clicks. And because they're not optimizing for it, they're easy terms to win. You know, nobody else is going after these things. Think about, so for your clients or for your sites, think about where you're winning. You know, where are you beating your competitors? But then there's also somebody where they're going to be looking for that solution with your competitor. Now the thing is, don't disparage your competitors. You know, these are just pages that give the actual information. This is what they are. But what's fun is that you can win like position 0. You know, so when somebody's looking for, it rhymes with Wells Fargo, banking fees, we come up, and so this is our chart of it. They say like, hey, these are the fees. Do you not like those fees? Here's another alternative. So there's probably something within your industry or within your client site where you can think about, our competitor isn't ranking a page for that. They're not trying to. They can slip in and tag massive traffic. And if it's a pain point, these pages convert because people are upset. You know, they saw something they don't like. Now they're looking for that alternative that they didn't even know existed. All right, so rank for things that your competitors don't want. You don't always need the space pen. This is the pencil that really plays off. All right, so I do mostly client side. And does anybody do affiliate? Anybody here in affiliate type stuff? A little bit? No? Yeah. New affiliate model. I think you're doing affiliate wrong. if you're doing affiliate work. I think the new affiliate marketing is small-scale SaaS. So what you want to do is you want to think about one problem that you have and ask others if they have the same problem and if they would pay $20 a month to have it solved. If you get past that threshold, a $20 problem in SaaS is going to cost about $5,000 to $8,000 and probably going to cost you less than $400 to manage. All right? If you get 100 subscribers at that $20, that's $2,000 a month, and you're all right positive in 4 months. So if you're building your own websites for affiliate type stuff, this is an area that you might want to consider. Solve one problem, and ask people if they pay $20 to have that go away. And if you can get 100 people, you know, this is where you can kind of get those little income property sites that are evergreen. All right, so just think about just want to put that out there. I don't think anybody's teaching this. I don't think this is a concept that anybody's doing. But you can jump in now. I think this is affiliate marketing 15 years ago when those guys got in and were making bank, and now they're writing courses, and that's a lot harder now. I think this is an area that you can slip into now and really do well, really make a lot of money. All right, that's all I've got. All right, thank you so much.